They thought it was just a game. But what if I told you that on that day, what started as a bored group of teenagers playing a game tore a hole in time? A portal between what's seen and what's always there waiting. What would you do if a simple yes on a chalk-drawn board turned into a scream trapped inside your head, impossible to ignore? This is the kind of story no one believes until it's too late. It all happened in a regular school. One of those old buildings with peeling walls, footsteps echoing too loudly down the halls, and a smell of mold that seems to stick to your skin. It was a Friday afternoon. The history teacher was absent, and the second-year class was left unsupervised in a classroom. And that's when it started. Someone, no one quite remembers who, suggested, "Let's play the compass." Laughter, teasing, some saying it was childish, others excited by the idea, but deep down everyone was curious. Because playing at summoning spirits is funny. Until something answers. They drew the circle, wrote the letters, placed the compass in the middle. They started with silly questions. "Is anyone here? Are you a good spirit?" And then the compass moved, slow, precise, without anyone touching it. "Yes." Everyone froze, but they still laughed. "It must be the wind." Except there was no wind. The windows were shut. Then came the silence, heavy, uncomfortable, until Raphael, always skeptical, always mocking, stood too still. His eyes fixed on the corner of the room. Then he whispered, "Lucena, she's here." That's when the atmosphere changed. It felt like the air had thickened, as if something invisible was right there among them, listening to every breath, every racing heartbeat. In the following days, Raphael changed. He stopped talking to his friends, spent recess alone in the yard, staring into nothing. A teacher said she found him crying in the bathroom, repeating, "I didn't want this, she chose me." And no one knew who she was. Not even him. But it wasn't just Raphael. Clara, one of the girls who also took part in the game, woke up with scratches on her arms. She said she dreamed of a woman in a black dress trying to pull her into the school bathroom mirror. She screamed, but no one heard. Her mother thought it was self-harm. The school psychologist said it was stress, but Clara knew. Something had stuck to them. Something that wasn't just imagined. The school, already full of rumors, became the center of stories no one wanted to confirm. Teachers started locking rooms without explanation. A janitor quit after saying he heard crying coming from the empty art room in the middle of the night. And even with all this, no one took it seriously. Because adults think teenagers make things up. Because it's easier to say it's all in their heads than to accept that sometimes the unknown accepts the invitation. But the scariest part came when Clara found an old notebook in the library, hidden behind dusty encyclopedias. Inside, there were similar reports from 1993. Students who played the same game, with the same name, Lucena, and who mysteriously disappeared weeks later. The school covered it up. They said they were transferred, but there was no record of transfer, and none of them were ever seen again. Lucena wasn't just a random name. She was trapped there, waiting for new voices, new fools to call her. Now answer honestly, do you still think it was just a game? If this made sense to you, comment here. I'm here. I want to know who can still feel when the air changes. Because sometimes all a spirit needs is to be called again. Some people think that when the game ends, everything goes back to normal. But what if it doesn't? And what if what was called doesn't want to leave? The biggest mistake those teenagers made wasn't playing with the unknown. It was believing they could simply ignore what happened afterward, as if the darkness agreed to be forgotten. The truth is, after that compass game, the school was never the same. Nothing felt safe there anymore. The energy changed. It was as if the building itself had become sick. The once noisy hallways were now silent, The echo of footsteps seemed delayed, as if something was walking behind you, just a second too late. Students started missing without explanation. Teachers locked doors even during classes, and no one spoke openly about it, but everyone felt it. The discomfort, the tension, the presence, a shadow no one could explain but seemed to watch. Always from afar, always too close. Then came the first loss. Mariana. She was one of the most skeptical, thought it was all nonsense. She was in the group that played the game but left halfway, laughing, saying she had more important things to do than summon ghosts. 3 weeks later, she disappeared. The school issued a statement saying she had been transferred for family reasons, but her closest friends knew the truth. The night before she vanished, Mariana sent a voice message to a friend. Her voice was trembling. She whispered as if afraid to be heard. "He's here in the room, won't let me sleep. He wants me to go with him, under the school." The phrase sounded absurd, but no one could listen to that message and keep thinking it was just a bad joke. That's when the group decided to return to the school at night. Armed with flashlights and phones, they entered through the back, crossed the court, and reached a door locked for years, the old basement used as a storage during the dictatorship. A place even the staff avoided. They broke in, and what they found there changed everything. Dust, a damp smells, and scratch marks on the walls. Yes, claw marks, as if someone had tried to climb the concrete walls. There were also candle remnants, symbols drawn on the floor, a torn notebook in the corner, and a backpack, Mariana's, still with books inside. That's when it hit them. They weren't just being haunted by a spirit, they had opened a path, and what crossed through didn't want to go back. It was hungry, and worst of all, it already knew each of their names. Since that night, nothing has been normal. Clara started having sleep paralysis almost every night. Said she woke up with a hand gripping her ankle and saw someone crawling across her bedroom floor. Raphael began to self-harm, said he needed to draw on her so he wouldn't take his mind away. Even students who didn't participate in the ritual began to be affected. A first-year girl was taken to the hospital after a breakdown. She screamed she was being dragged under the school. Whatever was awakened that afternoon was spreading, choosing, invading. And here's what no one tells you. There are places contaminated, not by bacteria, not by mold, but by spiritual memory. Places that absorb what's done there and return it multiplied. This school is one of them. And what was once just an urban legend is now a living curse. If this made sense to you, comment here. I'm here. Sometimes that's all it takes for it to start listening to you too.